virtual things have just gotten so much more popular with almost in all aspects.
Yeah. ¿Listo para empezar o qué? So we're ready for starting. I don't know. Do I look good? Should I take off my
I like the
glasses?
spirit blue.
Okay.
It's very on brand. Did you do that on purpose?
I usually like those, like, like basic t-shirts. It's
Yeah.
Lacoste one.
Yeah.
So I'm still like, like wearing good brands, but I'm, like
Yeah.
cool.
No, it's you got that
Perfect
spirit
touch.
blue on.
Okay. Oh
And
yeah,
the
and
yellow
it's
is
making the contrast with the yellow couch. Okay. Makes sense. I don't
So
want
do
to
you
look
do a
like
lot
too
of
cheap.
podcasts? Like do
We
you
do
have like a
one weekly. We talk about like
okay.
different topics. We like to interview like, alumni and like sharing their experiences and how was like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
uncovering myth about the work and travel program.
cool. How
But this one
many
is
like people do you get that join or listen?
um not that much. I mean, we're not like, like viral yet, but
Yet is the key word.
yeah. ¿Listo? ¿Ya estamos listos? Okay, so I'm just gonna greet and then we can start. Hola chicos,
Okay.
¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Sebastián Martínez, soy el director de BBB y pues hoy vamos a hacer un webinar sobre Teacher Exchange Program y Teacher Assistant Program. Estamos con Kaylee Clutch. Um, sí, ella es nuestra representante de nuestro sponsor Spirit Exchange y vamos a hablar un poquito. Este webinar va a ser algo especial porque Kaylee no habla español, habla inglés. Entonces, pues lo vamos a hacer todo en inglés. Así que porfa, muy atentos. Y si no entienden algo, nos lo hacen saber por redes para pues poder traducirle a ella, no importa. Si quieren escribirlo en inglés también lo podemos decir. Y pues vamos hablando sobre lo que es el programa de Teacher Exchange. ¿Listo? So Kaylee, I was like introducing all of us, you and me, and telling them that um, this webinar is like different. It's just like 100% English. Like we're not like doing like translations at the time. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you would like to either um, introduce yourself too.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Kaylee, and I work with Spirit Cultural Exchange. So, Spirit is a J1 visa sponsor. Specifically at Spirit, I get to work with the teacher program, which falls underneath that J1 visa. And so, I have the pleasure of working with teachers pre-arrival and post-arrival, kind of supporting them throughout the process of applying and after their arrival here in the U.S.
Cool. So would you like to start like maybe introducing like what's the teacher exchange program and what does that really means for the
Yeah.
okay.
Definitely. So the J1 Bridge USA teacher program allows international teachers to come to the US and teach for typically 3 years. After 3 years, there's the possibility of applying for an extension for an additional 2 years. So, you might teach for up to 5 years on the program. You can expect to teach in a school, that's accredited in the US, typically at a primary, elementary school, middle, or high school. So anywhere between kindergarten up to 12th grade is eligible, for this program.
So for the program, do you do like full premium allocation? Like Spirit will help participants to find their a job offer, a job placement.
Yeah, so Spirit has both. We have that premium option where, Spirit not only provides sponsorship for the J1 visa and support after your arrival, but we also provide a US host school that matches your educational background. So we have that premium option. And then we also have an independent option as well for any candidates who might have already received an offer to teach in the US and they're just looking for a J1 visa sponsor.
Do you know how many sponsors does Spirit plays during the summer, like a regular year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely varies from year to year. We get a large demand each year, though, for Spanish bilingual teachers specifically. So we tend to get a lot of positions that come in for our premium program, that are specifically for teachers either at the elementary level, that would be teaching, what's called dual language in the US. So they would be teaching multiple subjects, but they would be teaching in Spanish and in English. And then we also get, quite a few secondary, so middle and high school Spanish openings as well. I would say each year probably we get about 40 plus Spanish positions, posting on our premium.
And you're still
Um,
like needing even more than that, right?
Definitely, I think that's just kind of a conservative number, but I think we hear from schools constantly that there's definitely an interest in this program for Spanish teachers specifically.
So for 2025 season, are you recruiting for a specific states or areas? I know that with another sponsors, we work for Dallas and Austin area. I don't know if like we're gonna be, or like you're doing
Yeah,
like New England area.
so we have Texas. We have a few different districts in Texas. So like I think Round Rock, Leander, which are pretty near Dallas,
Yeah.
and a few other bigger districts. But Texas is a big one. We tend to see placements in Illinois and Arizona as well. We've also had a few trickle in from I think like Wisconsin. And yeah, some other states. But typically, I would say Texas, Arizona, and Illinois are the top three.
So we usually have a lot of inconvenience, like doing the definition of who's an eligible teacher for the program. So like here in Colombia, we do like bachelor programs, and according to the
Mhm.
translation, those are like the ones that entitle the owner of that title to for being a teacher.
Sure.
So we usually recruit for bachelor in English and arts, and like modern languages, but they're kind of bachelors. Like a bachelor in arts will apply also if they're like show proficiency in English.
So yeah, so I think the big document to be aware of when it comes to applying for the teacher program is the Foreign Credential Evaluation, otherwise known as that FCE. So this is a document, you would go to a credential evaluation service, which is, a third party outside of Spirit,
Yeah.
to get your international degree evaluated to see what the US equivalency of that degree is. So, depending on the FCE and what they say the US equivalency is, that will help determine your eligibility for the program. And not only that, but also your eligibility for different states, because each state in the US has different requirements when it comes to getting a teaching license or certified as a teacher. So that's something that Spirit does in pre-screening any applications is reviewing the FCE to determine not only your eligibility for the program but also what states you might be eligible to teach in the US. So to your question, to kind of back up, we do require the program rules say bachelor's in education or a bachelor's in the subject you intend to teach in the US.
Okay, yeah,
And
makes
so,
sense.
depending on the state, that can vary. So, some states require an education degree specifically, whereas maybe others would accept a degree in the subject that you intend to teach. So, for example, if you're coming to the US wanting to teach high school Spanish and you have a degree in languages, in English and Spanish, but maybe you don't have an education degree specifically, you could still qualify potentially for a high school, Spanish position if you've had that teaching experience after graduating.
After graduating, yeah, after receiving your degree.
Right.
Because yeah, those are one of the main things that we have like issues with. So a lot of participants or applicants that are trying to pursue the being approved for the teacher exchange program, they are like working as a teachers in like former schools like for a long time, but they don't have a degree in education. They do have like engineers degree or like basic sciences degree, like like hey, I'm a full chemistry degree base. I don't have a bachelor in chemistry, but I'm intended for being a teacher there.
Got
So
it. Yeah. So I think that is where definitely some of the complexities lie for sure. That might not work for the program if it's not an equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. I will say if a candidate has a degree in sciences, and has been teaching for more than 2 years and is currently working as a teacher, they might qualify, if they're planning to teach science in the US. Maybe it's a Spanish science placement, which sometimes we get those as well. So that could, possibly work.
But
It just
mostly it's
depends.
like bilingual Spanish English positions, right?
Right. So sometimes at the like high school level, we get bilingual positions that come in that have also a focus on a different subject. So maybe it's science bilingual, ninth grade. So where you'd be teaching science in both English and Spanish. So we get sometimes those requests as well.
So let's talk about postgrades, like like getting a master's degree in education, or like something like pedagogy, or I don't know, investigation, like I don't know, like anything like more related with education, like like child education, or like any like master's degree, or like even a postgrade. Those
Yeah.
like those are like BS. Some of them they are called a specialization here. I know
Okay.
like lady, like one of our team members, she holds a degree, like a postgrad degree on didactics.
Oh, okay.
So that's an
Yeah.
educational degree too, right?
It could be, yeah. I think it really all boils down to that FCE again. I think that foreign credential evaluation is so important, especially when you are initially applying to the program, because that will help, determine your eligibility because it shows us, that US equivalency of the degree. So if you have, the bachelor's, maybe you studied bachelor's in marketing and then you had a professional change and you went back and got a master's in education, and you would be teaching under with that master's degree and qualifying for the program with that. I think that could potentially work as well. But again, it would just come down to that foreign credential evaluation and making sure that you have a degree, in education or in the subject that you intend to teach in the US.
Okay. So let's resume the specific requirements for the program. It's like holding
Sure.
a degree in education related field, especially if you're trying to apply it in any of the open positions, right?
Minimum of a bachelor's.
A
So
minimum
if
is a
it's like an
bachelor.
associate's, that unfortunately wouldn't work, but a minimum of a bachelor's degree in education or in the subject that you intend to
But those
teach.
are cool. Like we don't do like associate's degree here in Colombia, so it's just
Okay,
bachelor's.
perfect.
Also, they also need to hold like at least 2 years of experience, certified experience in the field, and also being a full-time teacher at the time of
Right.
applying to the program, right?
Right. So, and to back up with that 2 years of teaching experience, it does have to be after they've gotten their degree, after graduating,
Yeah.
because sometimes
So
we know that, as part of your studies, you'll go to school and have like a practical teaching experience. Unfortunately, that experience cannot count towards qualifying. It would have to be after graduating, teaching for at least 2 years. Um, in the subject area, grade levels that you would plan to teach in the US. And
okay.
then, yes, be currently teaching at the time of your application.
Yeah.
If,
So if you're applying for like let's say summer 2025, you still have to be a teacher in 2025. It's not like, hey, I just fulfilled documents on, December 30th. So like I'm
right.
fulfilling the
And
full thing.
yeah, yeah. And really, it's because during the program, there's a cross cultural component to the program where teachers will do a virtual activity, connecting a school in their home country with a school in the US that they're teaching at. So typically when candidates apply, they're currently teaching, they use that school that they're currently teaching at, to help connect students with students in the US during their program for their virtual cross-cultural exchange activity, that they would conduct during their program.
Okay. So the third requirement is holding like a B2 minimum based on the European Common Frame.
Yes, yeah, I would say that's probably a fair assessment. So yeah, having a pretty proficient level of English is, the other requirement, and Spirit determines that we don't necessarily require a test results or score. We have a interview kind of screening process that would be done with our team. So we would, schedule an interview with a candidate who's interested, and make sure that their English is sufficient for the program.
Yeah, and it's more like based on vocabulary, would you say?
I would say, yeah, we look at really four different categories. So we look at pronunciation,
Hmm.
vocabulary, conversation, and comprehension. So we're kind of looking at those four
Four areas.
categories,
Yeah.
determining, the proficiency level.
About restrictions, is there any like age restriction for the program? Because
No, which is great. No age restriction as long as they meet those other program requirements, of having the degree, the previous teaching experience, current employment as a teacher. Yeah, as long as they meet those requirements, we don't have an age. Uh,
okay, so if I'm like 68, can apply for the program
you're welcome.
as long as you
Come on.
have the B2, 2 years at
Yeah.
minimum of experience, and you're currently a full-time teacher of the
Yeah, as
year of
long as you meet
application.
the other program rules, you're welcome to apply. I think sometimes it's great when we have those types of teachers apply who maybe have 20 years of teaching experience and they're looking for something new. I think we've had a few teachers that have come, on the program that are maybe older, just looking for a new experience, something to add to their career as a teacher. Because I think this program is great because it allows you to come and teach in the US, but it also kind of provides new ideas, US teaching best practices and methodologies, and kind of opens additional doors, in teaching in another country. It
Yeah,
kind of
and
makes you.
it like the way that most common Colombians see like doing a international experience like this, it's more about like getting like deeper into the language skills. Like
Yeah,
learning their slangs and like making the difference between you all and y'all, like in Texas.
I was like,
So
you'll definitely hear that in Texas.
definitely like based on Texas. But yeah, like those kind of things are not like in any workbook or anything like that. That's something that you have to leave, and like
Definitely.
even greeting like normally on a it's so different between like like a classroom.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other great thing about this program is it does provide that professional development experience, but it also provides that cultural exchange component that you kind of talked about, where you get to know your colleagues better and you form relationships with other US teachers and friendships. So I think it's the other exciting part about this program for sure.
Okay. I would like to also make like a quick list of the benefits of the program. So it's not
Sure.
just like having the chance for being a full-time teacher in the US, but it's also the things that you get for if you have a like a formed family. Like because a lot of teachers that have like good experience, that are under 30s, they already have like one or two kids, and they're like like married. Can they bring their families with them?
That's a great question. Yes, for the J1 teacher program, we do have that J2 dependent option. So the J2 visa is eligible for spouses and children under the age of 21. So if a teacher's married, maybe has a kid, both the spouse and child would be welcome to apply as J2 dependents. For to accompany the J1 teacher. We understand that this program it can be 3 to 5 years in length. So that's a long time to be away from, a child or a
That's
spouse.
also that the Department of State really understood like real well, like making that J2 visa for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that allows the family to experience that cultural exchange experience as well. We love seeing some of our teachers who have their family here send us, their pictures of their vacation to Disneyland, or they went and saw the Grand Canyon. We love seeing those photos for sure, and hearing about those
So like
experiences.
the spouse of the J1 participant, like the teacher, the actual teacher, can can they like work legally in the US holding a J2 visa?
Yes, so a J2 dependent can apply for work authorization with USCIS. So they wouldn't
Okay.
apply for that work authorization with Spirit. That would be with the USCIS. They would kind of go through that application process. We've heard sometimes it can take, a couple months to get processed and get approved and, get paperwork settled. But once you have your, employment authorization document, you would be allowed to work in the US as a J2 dependent. We have some cases where they end up working at the same school as a teacher, maybe as a paraprofessional or just support, maybe someone in the office, or nearby. So there's definitely cases where spouses will,
That's pretty
you know,
cool, actually. Like, I haven't heard of that, but that's pretty cool. Like, hey, honey, I'm going to work. Like, we are going to work.
we're both going to work.
We're both like definitely. You're not living alone, dude. Um, so yeah, that's great to hear. Those T2 are like definitely extra, right? Or they are included in the program.
Yes, so that would be an additional program fee, for the J2 dependent. And something that we tend to recommend is like when teachers first travel, when they first arrive, we always recommend the teacher to travel first, just so that they have that chance to,
Adapt.
settle in,
Yeah,
find housing, transportation. It can be, a change teaching in a new country. So to
that's
kind of have those things
absolutely.
set in place
Yeah,
before having the J2s
a lot of
travel.
people don't really understand how hard can be the cultural shock. Like traveling to another country, like finding a job, adapting to a new job, a new city, a new neighborhood, and just like while you're like worrying about your kids attending to school, your husband finding a job, like
Yeah,
getting furniture, getting a car, that's a
right,
lot.
right.
So,
It is. Yeah,
but however,
definitely.
like most of them, they don't really listen. Like, yeah, I understand all of that, but I want to travel with all of them.
Right. So, I mean, it's definitely at the end of the day, it's the teacher's choice whether or not they travel alone, or if they bring, their spouse with them. Spirit definitely tries our best to provide as realistic, expectations as possible when it comes to the different costs associated with, not only the program, but living in the US as well. Living in the US can be expensive. And so when you add additional dependents, sometimes that can make your living costs,
Yep,
also go up. So
that's
making
very
sure that
true.
they have a plan in place for that.
So about the specific dates of recruitment, like I know like most schools are like doing the recruitments prior the end of the summer, so they're like teachers are intended to be there by July, pretty much. So like applications should be done before that.
Definitely. Spirit, we've opened the 2025-2026 program earlier than we ever have before. So we've opened our program this week. We are already accepting applications for next school year. Um, we typically see schools be making hiring decisions, however, more like in February, March. That's when a lot of the placement confirmations take place. We get a handful maybe before then, but typically schools are still in the process of determining kind of what they need for the next school year, and making those decisions.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, definitely candidates, can start really applying anywhere from now up until, I would say, we've been accepting applications like May, June of
So
next year.
one of the things that are can be like a bummer here is like we do another like schedule for schools. So a lot of teachers are gonna like renew their contracts and while they're applying in order to travel abroad. No, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the thing it is like they're pretty much dropping the school at the middle of the year in order just to
Mm,
pursue their their
yeah, the
dream of
calendar,
having
the
like
school calendar is different.
yeah, so that's the thing. So like we're done like classes around like December, like on the second
Okay.
week of November. So we go on a break and then like we resume classes. Like we start like the fresh new year on January.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of teachers maybe they are not like really aware of that change of schedules.
Got
So
it.
they're probably trying to
Yeah.
adjust, but like there's like something cool about the program is like you still can apply and not losing your job, right? So
Yeah.
if you
Right.
don't get hired, like that's it. Don't say anything and just still attending to your job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think something too with Spirit, with our application process, we don't have, like an app fee per se, so you can start the process with us. Um, if and not kind of have an application fee. We don't issue any, kind of charges until after you've received that school placement.
So since we're talking about like fees and charges, does any schools provide like scholarships or aids Because we also work with a teacher assistant program, and some schools will pay for the program cost if they are accepted. Like your
Yeah,
partners
I
will
think
do that.
yeah, each school is different, I will say, in what they can contribute to program fees. We have some schools that cover all program costs. We have some schools that maybe offer like assistance with half of it, or maybe they cover just the placement fee. Um, and then there's some schools that might not be able to cover fees up front, but then after arrival, they provide a stipend to the teacher to kind of cover that relocation expenses. So we see a variety of options when it comes to, Spanish
Okay,
teachers.
great. But yeah, that's something that is not like guarantee, right? That's something that
Right. It's not
maybe
guaranteed
comes
for
up.
every, yeah, not guaranteed for every placement, but I will say it's pretty common,
Okay,
that school will
that's
assist
great.
with
That's
something.
will Spirit will help them to find a housing option, like like near the school, because that's one of the biggest impacts that we have
Mm,
been like receiving as a complaint for our former participants. That
yeah,
like in some cities, it's not that easy to find like an affordable place to stay.
sure. So Spirit, we provide what's called a teacher program offer to participants once they've, after they've interviewed with a school and have received an offer. And in the offer, it will detail possible housing leads and estimated costs. It's ultimately the participants' responsibilities to, make those housing arrangements and secure the housing. But we do try and provide, suggestions. In addition to that, we have a host school mentor that gets identified at each school, and that host school mentor is a great resource for the teacher for helping them navigate their new school community and understanding maybe which places to look for available housing. Um, and navigating maybe the local city transit, all those fun things.
Another of like real common questions that a lot of applicants ask us about is if I'm a member or like a formal accepted participant for the teacher exchange program, can I do find a second job
Great
while on the
question.
program?
With Yeah, with this program, second jobs are not allowed. So it's not like work and travel,
Okay,
another
absolutely.
J1 program where you can have second jobs. With a teacher program, yeah, second jobs are not permitted. However, sometimes we have teachers who are also like a football coach at their school. So while it's not necessarily a second job,
But you can do like
they
extra hours.
they can, yeah, get maybe some additional responsibilities at their school, that's listed on the DS2019 form.
What are like the most common challenges that participants face while on the program? I know like all the basic things on the living, but like associate to the program.
Sure. I mean, I think you mentioned it. Cultural shock is one thing that I think you would struggle with any kind of cultural exchange program. But I think because the teacher program tends to be a little bit longer, being here for 3 years, sometimes you get more ingrained in U.S. culture, and so sometimes you can be here for a little while, and then something is very different from back home, and I think that can sometimes be challenging for participants. I will say the other thing I think is just experiencing a US school and getting familiar with the procedures and routines of, a US school system, as it might vary different, very, from the school that you might be used to teaching in Colombia.
But I
Educational.
think it's not just like the teaching thing, like, like adjusting yourself about like the American way of life, like getting a car, getting a dealership, getting a loan for your car, that can be a struggle, and
Definitely.
adapting to your city, also about the dynamics of transportation itself. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of new things, which is why, we always encourage and require our schools to identify that host school mentor for a teacher, because that host school mentor is really someone that the teacher can go to with questions about different culture, maybe experiences that they're having, or where can they find a car? Do they know anyone that's selling a car? So I think, we try and provide that sort of resource for the teacher as well.
yeah, and about your expectations as a, as a, a formal sponsor for the program about the the personality, or like how they will have to answer questions in order for being hired. Do you have any tips for that?
I mean, I think yeah, smiling is a big tip. You know, when you interview with someone, definitely kind of smiling and making sure that you are professional. It goes a long way. But I think anyone who it can kind of go with the flow is important on this program because you are experiencing new and exciting things, but they can be new and sometimes challenging. So someone who's patient too will go a long way in being successful in this program.
So do you think like it's more about the mindset that you get into the program, about like getting successful? Because like you're
I think
gonna
so.
be like living new things and
Definitely. I think there's, I mean, no, I think anyone can succeed on this program, but I definitely think that the mindset is important and making sure that they understand, you know, this is a cultural exchange program. So you will experience a new culture and experience new situations that can be challenging, but also, you know, fun and exciting.
we haven't talked about salaries and like about the compensation that formal teacher exchange program participants are expected to have while during the like each regular year.
So they can expect to be paid like equal to their American counterparts. So anyone who's a teacher in the U.S. that has a bachelor's degree and the same amount of teaching experience as the participant, they should be paid at an equal level. So I will say the salaries will vary depending on the district, depending on the state. Um, but typically, you know, we see salaries from about like 40,000 US dollars. I would say annually. Sometimes it can be more than that. And again, it just depends on the district and the teacher's education level.
Experience.
So someone with a bachelor's degree might earn less, you know, than someone with a master's degree. Um, you know, or someone who's been teaching for 20 years versus someone who's maybe only
That
been teaching.
absolutely makes like the difference for those. Do you have like any successful story? Well, I'm just gonna ask Daniel here in the background if we have like any questions from the audience. Like, does anybody has ever? Okay, so guys, like the chat box is open. If you have like any particular questions that you would like to ask to Katie about the program, like we're like more than glad to share that with her. But while like people start like asking Katie, do you have like any successful story, like like a commitment story, like that makes everyone feel proud about ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think so Spirit does what's called monthly check-ins with all of our teachers. So each month we will check in with our participants to make sure things are going well. And during that check-in, we invite them to share photos or, you know, stories of different, you know, experiences that they're having. And we love reading through them because they tend to be, you know, pretty positive. One of my recent favorites was someone who got to experience, he's a high school teacher, and he got to go to a U.S. prom for the first time and experience that and kind of be someone who chaperoned that. And he said that that was a really fun experience. He felt very much like
That's
it was.
hilarious. We do like
It
prom nights,
was
but are not like just like in the movies in the U.S.
yeah, yeah.
So
He felt like it was a very like cultural, movie moment that he was a part of. So I thought that was kind of a fun one. But yeah, we hear from different teachers that they are, I think, really growing too, and their you know teaching skill and kind of their knowledge of classroom management and in different areas. So yeah, I think they grow not only professionally but also just
personally,
yeah,
yeah,
personally
that's
as well.
that's something pretty cool. I'm not sure. Like, is there any questions, Daniel, already? Um, so yeah, seems like there's not like too many questions already in the chat. We're gonna encourage participants to go to our website, bbbsc.com and slash teacher exchange program. I'm not sure if it's like that, but if it's not, just like browse it in our website, in our main website, and just like fulfill the applications, guys. Like we're more than glad and ready to like help you to pursue your dreams about of holding a full working experience in the US. If you are not like completely sure if this like what you are like really liking to apply to, just hit us up and just let us know so we can, like guide you through the process. Um, just all cultural programs are awesome. Especially this ones that like really means like time. They're usually
Yeah,
like based on like short time of periods, like 4 months, 3 months, maybe a year, but like full like facing like 3 year program or maybe five, that could be
definitely.
overwhelming, as you were
Yeah,
mentioning.
for sure. I think, yeah, it can seem like a long time. I personally, actually, I did a kind of a cultural exchange program where I went to Thailand for 2 years and I taught there. And so I definitely relate to that, aspect of traveling to another country for maybe longer than a few months. But it was a very rewarding experience. I think the longer sometimes that you can experience a new culture, the more you can learn and experience it.
Okay. So we do have a question right here. Can we have a microphone for you in order? Okay. So Katie can listen to the question and the audience can also do it. It's on. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we got a question. Julian said, do you know of anyone, maybe a teacher who went to do an internship in the United States and they get it permanent job?
So like
So, yeah, go
participants
ahead.
are eligible in order, like after the program getting promoted or like finding a full-time position.
So with the teaching program, it is again that J1 cultural exchange program. So it is a temporary program. So it's meant to be, you're here for 3, maybe 5 years if you get that additional 2 year extension, and then you would, return home to your home country, and share the different, U.S. experiences that you gained.
Yeah, so like the restriction is just like based that before like coming back in any of these J1 programs, well, not any, like especially for the teacher exchange program, you have to stay at least 2 years of like sharing your knowledge acquired while in the US and sharing with your
Mm-hmm.
community. So after that,
Right.
yeah, you can move on and back. But like getting like a full-time work could be like considered an H type of visa, right?
Yeah, it would be different than the J1.
Yeah.
That J1 teacher program is, yeah, just that temporary cultural exchange program that would typically last, 3 years, maybe 5.
Okay. So Julian, we hope that we have answered your questions. We're running out of time, Katie. I'm sorry. Guys, if you
No
have any
problem.
other question, just let us know. Like, hit us up on our social media. Like, still, you can like do comments and just like let us know how we can help you and what other kind of questions you have. I know Katie, it's awesome. She's lovely. She's also like open to help us out. And if something comes up that is like above our knowledge, we're definitely gonna escalate that and tell her about to get like involved in like trying to find a solution for your questions and just like doing the best for you as an applicant. So Katie, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that you're taking the time just for doing this webinar and sharing
Yeah,
in our social media.
having me.
And thank you again for your time. And guys, don't forget to follow us, recommend us with your friends, and just like let us know whenever you're ready.
Great.
So, do you want to say bye, Katie? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you for joining. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, definitely direct that to BBB, and we can help clarify if additional information is needed for sure. But thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kaylee.